All right, we got Facebook online, Instagram's online, and saving this for YouTube and LinkedIn and wherever else. Why am I wearing glasses? You guys probably don't know. I actually do have glasses. I'm just not very good about wearing them. Um, I never used to wear them. I found them kind of annoying, but lately I've been having more of a need to wear them. Just like I don't know, my eyes bug me, having trouble focusing. But these in particular are Warby Parkers. For those who don't know, it's a brand that disrupted the whole industry. Direct to consumer, they make their own frames, they make the lenses, they put them together, they get them out to you. 95 bucks, same deal no matter which frames you choose, and that's with the glasses, which is pretty cool. Um, but the disruption is if you've ever had to buy glasses, if you're lucky, if you have a program like VSP or Vision Insurance that gives you a discounted price, you might get frames and prescription lenses for a couple $100 if you're lucky by the time everything's said and done. These things are $95. And of course, you still have your eye exam and any other costs that are associated with it, or if you get a special coating on the lens or anything like that. But here's the deal, Warby Parker, this isn't an ad for them, but they have really blown up the industry. They've grown tremendously fast. They've been super successful, and they did it through disruption. And that's what I wanted to talk about is disruption in a space where you have some reason why. Let me turn off my notifications. That's super annoying. Sorry. You have some reason why the status quo supports you, and the status quo brings in your revenue, your profit. It has what you believe to be maybe barriers to entry that makes you thrive in your space. And so you resist disruption. You stick to your business model no matter what, because your business model kicks off a lot of cash and you've invested a lot in that. And your whole organization is built around that. The problem is, as Warby Parker will demonstrate or is demonstrating already to the eyewear industry, that can't last forever. And they're not unique. So this happened with taxis. And it's happening with hotels. Hotels are still going to be around, but do you know who the largest booker or I don't know what the term is, but I guess like place that people book nights of stays away from home at, a place like a hotel or somewhere where you can essentially rent a bed. It's not a hotel; it's Airbnb. And in the ride hailing industry, it's not taxis anymore. It's Uber and Lyft and Didi and a number of other players throughout the world that have really disrupted and taken over because there were things about the core industry that were protectionist, that were keeping the industry in control and generating a lot of cash for them, like not liking to take credit cards. I mean, every cab I had ever been in before Uber came along, they'd have the credit card logos and I'd want to use my card and like, oh, the machine's broken. For whatever reason, you couldn't use credit cards. There's always some excuse. It's because they have to pay a fee to the credit card companies. They want cash. And if they get in cash, maybe they don't have to report it. So there's a tax scam benefit to it as well. I don't want to presume that it's for, any illegal reasons, but certainly they don't want to pay the percentage to the credit card companies. And I totally get that. But after a certain point, the market doesn't want you to exist doing those things. The market wants to move forward. And when you behave in a way that is protectionist, that is putting your interests and only your interests first, eventually you open the door for a competitor to really destroy you by disruption. And disruption is the way that giants get taken out. It is no different than really any other major industry in the past recent years where these stories have existed. Look at Motorola. For those who don't know the story of Motorola, Motorola was the first and largest cell phone. I say cell, not mobile phone, because it was analog cellular service. So they had, the first really successful large scale cellular business, and they did wildly well from it. And then they created these digital cellular solutions, and they decided they were making so much money off their analog cell phone business that they didn't really want to do anything with it because it would destroy this cash cow that they had. And they really had a stranglehold on the industry. So they kept their patents, but they never did anything with them until a company called Nokia came along and a few others on a smaller scale, but primarily Nokia, who said, we're going to go hard on the digital space. And for Motorola, it was like, well, we don't care. Pay us our royalty. So we'll make money off of it, but you're never going to go anywhere. we've got this cash cow, we're going to defend it and try to make that successful. Well, digital had a lot of advantages, and as people started to push towards wanting to do messaging and started to want to have data in their communications and not just voice, analog couldn't keep up. And, it didn't sound as good, and there are all these other reasons why analog wasn't great, but it had a footprint. And so Motorola kept their cash cow while Nokia started to grow this digital footprint. And Nokia was really smart because they also had the infrastructure business. And so they were also building out those towers, and they were making money on all the towers because they were building the equipment. And for those who don't know, Motorola really suffered, and Nokia just destroyed them in the digital space and blew up and became the number one mobile phone maker. And notice I said mobile and not cellular anymore because it's a different technology. Number one mobile phone maker globally by a humongous margin, and Motorola was a distant second. And that distant second just kept dropping. And eventually Motorola became so irrelevant, Google picked them up for not a lot of money, the entirety of Motorola, not just the phone business, tried to get rid of the other pieces of it. That was fine. They got rid of the phone business. Eventually they sold it to Lenovo. Motorola is pretty irrelevant in the mobile phone space. They have a presence in China. They're owned by a Chinese company, so that would make sense. But globally, Motorola is not a relevant player anymore. Interestingly, Nokia had the same problem in a slightly different way when things started to go down the path of more internet connectivity, getting into the smartphone space. They had their platform. It was okay. It wasn't great. And they, like RIM, who made the BlackBerry, refused to see what was happening with the iPhone and with Android and stuck to their guns and what they had. That was a cash cow. And it didn't go so well for them. And, if you don't know that story, Microsoft ended up buying them out. And who sees Nokia phones anywhere anymore? Nokia is actually, the brand name has been reused now, and it's back for use in some of the developing world and in lower cost phones. But that was the powerhouse in the same way that Motorola was. So why am I talking about all this? Well, it's these Warby Parkers that made me think of it. I put out an article recently about whether your efficiency or productivity gains and tricks and tips are costing you in other ways. And you can check it out on my blog if you go to my blog right now, bryanfalchuk.com/blog. And this is really on the same path, is are you doing things that may be generating a lot of money for you right now, but actually may not be what your customers really want. And maybe it's what they want today, but it's not what they want tomorrow. And if you stay on that path and you do it insistently, you might be creating the space for a competitor who may not even exist today to take you down. There's an old saying is, if you're going to get cannibalized, you might as well cannibalize yourself. So why not move into the new space? If you look at what happened with music, the record industry was super protectionist, really didn't want to go with digital, fought everyone, going after pirates. Apple changed the game. And when Apple did, people were saying, well, have the subscription model and you get all these songs for one low price, and people weren't ready for it. And so you had Real Networks and Microsoft with the Zune, like there were all these subscription ideas. They really didn't succeed, and Steve Jobs was totally against it. And he's like, people want to own their music. Well, I think at the time that was true. But eventually things changed. Consumer habits changed, and Apple didn't stay up with that. And so Spotify came out, and Spotify got huge. Now, Apple eventually woke up, and they woke up with a huge checkbook, and they bought Beats, and they got access to Beats platform. They've rebranded it, and they pushed it really well, and they've gotten it in with a lot of carriers. So like if you're on Verizon in the US, you can get 6 months of Apple Music for free. So Apple was really smart about how they went into the subscription space after they woke up to it. But they woke up to it, and they could have led the way if they'd done it pre Spotify coming out, maybe. But to stay open to it instead of saying, nope, we have all this money in this iTunes ecosystem and we're selling these things and that's the way it is. And we'll take our 30% cut. Okay, that's fine. But eventually it may not be. And you have to stay open to that. And that's really the message here is, what are you doing today that may be working really well for you, that you may just get a little too bedded in with, a little too stuck on, and resistant to change. Maybe you insist that you wouldn't get to that point. So I want people to think about that. Check out the blog article, bryanfalchuk.com/blog. I've posted it on LinkedIn and Twitter and all that too. I think it's already out as an article on LinkedIn. I'm not positive, but if it isn't, it will be soon. But yeah, have a think about it. And it's not just a business thing. It's like what's going on in your own life. Are there ways that you're interacting with people? Are there ways that you're carrying yourself that maybe has served you well, but has the world moved on? Are you in a different situation in your life where like you need to think about a different approach to people? So I will leave it there. Check out bryanfalchuk.com and have a look at some of the articles and think think if this stuff is sparking some thought in your mind, like where are you stuck in and where have you really paved the way for someone to come in and disrupt and undo whatever you've done. So food for thought, take that forward, visit bryanfalchuk.com, check out the articles, let me know what you think. Thanks everybody.